Sanchez needs no introduction. With his science and technology, he is a clear, formidable opponent. But how strong is he?
Morty, wake up. We're in a Carl's Jr. Hardee's commercial right now. I'd like you to meet some characters. Thick Burger El Diablo.
Rick, I don't want to be in a commercial. It's 4 in the morning. I got a big test tomorrow.
Too bad, Morty. I'd like you to meet All Natural Burger.
Stop
It'll help you relax, Morty. Western Bacon Cheeseburger.
Before we begin, I want to lay some ground rules real quick. Rick and Morty exist in a multiverse with thousands of possible Ricks and or Mortys, so we need to narrow it down. I'm going with the main one from the show, which is Rick C-137. This means that anything done in the comics will not be considered for his final stats, as the Rick from the Rick and Morty comics is canonically Rick C-132. There are subtle differences and they do similar things, but they are not the same character technically.
This guy right here, super weird.
This also means that Pocket Mortys won't be calculated either, since that's somewhat related to the comics, but is also an iPhone game. And this also means no talking about Bushworld Adventures Rick, which is unfortunate because he's a true blue Aussie hero. This may sound confusing, but to be fair, you need to have a very high IQ to understand Rick and Morty.
I want Szechuan sauce. Where's my Szechuan sauce? I'm Pickle Rick!
Okay, no, okay. We're only talking about the Rick Sanchez from the show. But let's take a quick side note to talk about how Rick is C-137 and Morty is not. In the pilot episode, we find out that Rick just recently rejoined his family.
He just came back into my life.
But in episode 110, Closer Encounters of the Rick Kind, we find out through Rick's memories that he remembers meeting an infant Morty. This means that Rick portal jumped to a world where Morty existed without him, and then just waltzed right in and took over.
Morty, check out my new friends, the Old Spice Invisible Sprays.
Oh, come on, Rick, it's 3 in the morning. Well, why do you keep selling us out?
They've gone on enough adventures, though, that Morty considers himself to be Morty C-137, as noted in 202 Morty Night Run, when Rick marks Jerry as non-applicable to mention, and this is just glossed over. But in 110 Close Encounters of the Rick Kind, as well as in 301 The Rick Shank Redemption, Morty refers to himself as Morty C-137.
My name is Morty Smith, from Earth Dimension C-137. I'm Morty C-137.
Either Morty is wrong and he isn't C-137, or Rick took over a different Rick's place and just convinced himself he was C-137. In episode 110, that's the one with Evil Morty, by the way, this episode reveals some neat things. Namely, that Rick and Morty have different brainwaves that cancel each other out, and that Ricks can be spotted across the entire universe with a brainwave scan if they don't have a Morty near them. And that most Ricks consider their Morty as more or less a cloaking device, as well as a sounding board for ideas. Rick C-137 is unique, though, in the fact that he has an emotional attachment to memories of infant Morty. Again, these are memories of a different Morty than the one who calls himself Morty C-137. Okay, so, main feats. In 109, he punches the actual devil. In 209, he just has an Iron Man suit. 206 and 303 and 306 all show how quickly he can scrap together random bits and things and MacGyver his way out of situations.
Thinking quickly, Dave constructs a homemade megaphone using only some string, a squirrel, and a megaphone.
Oh, right quick, speaking of Disney, did you know that Rick and Morty is connected to Gravity Falls because of this mug that this guy drops while making a portal in that Disney show, and it pops through the portal in a Rick and Morty dimension? That's kinda neat. Hey, remember that time Rick and Morty destroyed the entire world and turned everyone into Cronenbergs in episode 106, Rick Potion number 9? And then it's brought up again in 108 Rixie Minutes and becomes a huge plot point in 301 The Rick Shake Redemption, when Morty takes Summer there to show her how much harm Rick can cause to an entire world before he just ducks out.
Oh my god, Morty, what did you do? You killed the Simpsons, Morty!
No, I didn't mean to.
Go, God, look
That's
at the
really
baby.
Rick's main flaw, I think. He gives up when things get hard and he just leaves and doesn't care what happens. There are only 2 times Rick has gone back and decided not to give up. Let's talk about those real quick. In episode 203, Autoerotic Assimilation, Rick gets back together with his old girlfriend, Unity, and then his toxic behavior causes Unity to break up with him. Rick takes the breakup pretty hard and decides to kill himself in one of the few poignant moments of the entire series. It is only with this failed suicide attempt that Rick decides to keep on going, and after harassing her in the after credits scene, he moves on and goes back to adventuring. In episode 310, The Manchurian Candidate, Morty sets up an ultimatum that he's staying with his family no matter what, and Rick can either stay with the family or leave. Rick is disgusted by this proposal, especially now that Jerry and Beth are back together. Rick came back, but with his family talking in meta-humor and Beth straight up saying things will be like Season 1.
Things will be like Season 1, but more streamlined.
Rick just seems annoyed. Begrudging, really. It seems Rick's main weakness is just his arrogance. Sometimes.
Hi, I'm Dan.
I'm Justin. Together we created
Rick and Morty, the cartoon!
So here's the thing, the writing behind Rick and Morty comes down to two defining head writers. We have Dan Harmon, and we have Justin Roiland. Dan Harmon is known for his work on the show Community, as well as the streamlining the hero's journey writing process down to, like, a science, and that was due to his inherent laziness. Justin Roiland, on the other hand, prefers to drink and make short improv sketches that go nowhere. When one of them writes an episode without the other, it's very obvious. For example, 304 Vindicators 3, The Return of World Ender.
Hey Dan, as long as you're on the phone, hey, can you talk to me for a second?
Justin, go finish editing episode 304. It's the worst.
That's not true.
This episode goes against the hero's journey in every single way and just shows Rick as being smarter than an entire cast of unique superheroes, killing a huge threat to the entire team, and then setting up saw-type traps for them all in a single night while blackout drunk. He's too powerful in this episode, and it removes any and all tension. There's absolutely nothing he has to overcome. It's boring. It's literally just the writer saying how much he hates Marvel. Speaking of Marvel, now is the part of the video where we figure out how strong the character is based on Marvel.com stats. Remember, there are 6 different categories and they range between 1 and 7. Let's go. Durability, 2. Hear me out. I know you nerds want him to have all the highest stats, but in episode 309, The ABCs of Beth, his arm is bitten clean off and he quickly replaces it with a robot one. Rick can get hurt easily, it's just that he gets back up quickly. Energy, 7. In episode 206, The Ricks Must Be Crazy, we learn that Rick's car is powered by an entire microverse. That's a lot of energy, and he uses it for other things too. Fighting skills, 7. He goes up against the huge threats all the time, and usually wins. Anything less than 7 here would be kind of stupid. Intelligence, 7. The same as Mr. Clean's. To be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to be Rick.
Rick, I'm Pickle Rick! Rick!
Speed, 2. Rick has a portal gun that allows him to teleport between dimensions, but that's not really speed. His regular speed is just regular human speed. This is why he changed Morty's DNA to allow him to transform into a car as revealed in episode 206. Strength, 4. Look, I want to say Rick isn't good at hand-to-hand combat. I wanted to put this at a 3, but then I remembered in episode 109 something Rick did this way comes. He does beat up the literal devil, so I think he deserves to be at a 4. That's a combined total of 29. Still not sure if we want to look at total or just strength to figure this out. Either way, there you have it. Do you think Rick Sanchez could defeat Mr. Clean, the crazy flesh Roomba that captured the sun? Let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to show your support, and remember, this has been Brandon of the Tidepool Orchestra. See ya.
Justin Roiland, you were just a boy when we met, and I will bet you're feeling older today. You do the voices and you make creative choices that bring millions of us joy, and so the world would like to say, happy birthday, you're the best, last season sucked, give me a job, I hope you die, just take my money, take your time and make me more. Happy birthday, you're a monster, you're a god, you're nothing special, never change, you changed my life, now where the fuck is season 4?